Wounds have marked your journey. These experiences weren't isolated incidents, but accumulated over countless moments. Perhaps words were spoken that cut deep, or silence echoed where support should have been. Betrayal might have shattered your expectations, rejection left you questioning your worth, or neglect made you feel invisible. Sometimes it wasn't dramatic events, but rather endless small moments that gradually wore away your faith in others and in your own value. You mastered the art of concealing these wounds, maintaining composure while carrying invisible burdens, continuing forward despite everything. However, there's a fundamental truth that often goes unspoken. Concealing emotional wounds doesn't eliminate them. Instead, it drives them deeper into your being, making them more elusive and significantly more challenging to address. As one profound thinker observed, when we fail to bring our hidden struggles into awareness, they continue to shape our decisions while we attribute our circumstances to destiny. For far too long, you've accepted suffering as your predetermined path. You've mistaken abandoning yourself for genuine affection. You've confused staying silent with demonstrating resilience. Yet somewhere within, you recognize the reality. Transformation is necessary. This transformation begins at this very moment, not through false pretenses or manufactured optimism, but through a conscious choice. The choice to release burdens that were never rightfully yours, to cease diminishing yourself to accommodate spaces you've outgrown, to stop investing so much energy in individuals who never truly recognized your essence. This time marks a turning point. You won't retreat to familiar patterns. You won't break apart once more. You won't sacrifice your authentic self merely to feel secure. This time, you're stepping away from sources of pain and moving toward your genuine nature. Society conditioned you to prioritize kindness, politeness, and compliance. You were instructed to maintain harmony even while your inner world crumbled. You discovered how to minimize your presence to ensure others felt at ease. You mastered saying yes while meaning no, smiling when you wanted to express anguish, and apologizing when you bore no responsibility. You believed this represented strength. You thought it demonstrated love. You hoped that exceptional goodness might finally stop the hurt. The reality, however, tells a different story. You weren't designed to remain voiceless. You weren't born to shoulder everyone else's demands and expectations. As wisdom tells us, life's greatest privilege lies in becoming your authentic self. Yet how can you achieve authenticity while continuing to perform as someone else's creation? Change begins precisely here. It starts when you begin questioning rules you never consented to follow. When you stop living in constant fear of disappointing people who were never genuinely present in your life. True freedom doesn't emerge from universal approval. It springs from complete honesty. Honesty with others, with the world around you, and crucially, with your own heart. Within you exists a dimension that remains largely unspoken and unseen. Sometimes even you remain unaware of its presence. This space contains everything you've suppressed, the anger society forbade you from expressing, the shame you never dared acknowledge, the sorrow that lingered while everyone else moved forward. Psychology recognizes this as our hidden aspect, the repository of everything we refuse to acknowledge, yet remain. You aren't fragile. You aren't damaged beyond repair. You're simply exhausted. Exhausted from concealing what makes you genuine. You learn to fear this hidden part of yourself, to silence its voice and keep it locked away from view. But here lies the truth. This shadow isn't your adversary. It holds the key to your liberation. When you reject this aspect of yourself, you're rejecting half of your being. However, when you approach it with curiosity, with compassion, with courage, you begin reclaiming your power. Not the loud, attention-seeking kind, but the quiet, unshakable variety that no one can ever strip away from you again. Take a moment to appreciate this content if it resonates with you. Your engagement helps these concepts reach others who might benefit. Consider following along for more explorations into the complexities of human psychology. Now, let's continue this journey. You've dedicated most of your existence to caring excessively about insignificant matters. What others think, what they expect, whether they'll approve, whether they'll remain in your life. You attempted to achieve perfection. You strived to be sufficient. You tried maintaining everything in order, even as it destroyed you internally. But here's the fundamental truth. It isn't your obligation to ensure everyone else's comfort. It isn't your duty to be liked, accepted, or understood by people who never invested time in truly seeing you. Wisdom teaches us that the greatest family tragedy lies in the unlived lives of parents. Those unlived experiences, their fears, their regulations, their pain became your inheritance. But you don't have to continue living their unfulfilled dreams. Releasing doesn't indicate you've stopped caring. It means you've begun prioritizing yourself, your tranquility, your limits, your voice. You have permission to refuse. You have permission to depart. You have permission to stop attempting to repair what was never your responsibility to fix. The moment you cease overgiving, the moment you stop seeking validation, you begin returning to your true self. This is when healing commences. Not because the world becomes easier, but because you're finished abandoning yourself to navigate it. You've endured enough, sufficient disappointment, enough waiting for people to treat you as you've always treated them. You've shed enough tears in solitude. You've justified yourself far too many times. You've contorted yourself into unnatural forms just to make situations work. But now something is changing. You're beginning to understand that the power rests in your hands now, not theirs. You don't require permission to let go. You don't need closure from people who were never capable of providing it. You don't need to continue playing a role you've outgrown. Because here's what they don't reveal. No one can wound you in the same manner once you stop betraying yourself. Profound understanding suggests that healing doesn't emerge from pretending to be normal. It comes from embracing your completeness, from no longer needing the world to be safe because you have become your own sanctuary. When you stand firmly grounded in your truth, you stop being disturbed by other people's turmoil. You stop absorbing their pain. You stop shrinking to remain invisible. You stop bending every time someone leans too heavily on you. You become steady, quietly powerful. You walk away without guilt. You speak your truth without apology. That's the moment when nothing and no one can truly wound you again. Not because life won't present challenges, but because you won't abandon yourself to survive them. This is what freedom feels like. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, certain, peaceful. Great psychological insight reveals that life's goal isn't perfection. It's completeness. This means you no longer have to erase your past. You no longer need to fix yourself to be lovable. You no longer live trying to prove something. You simply become all of who you are. Light and shadow, strength and gentleness, clarity and complexity. You understand now that you are not your trauma. You are not what they did to you. You are not the roles you were forced to play. You are the one who survived it, the one who awakened, the one who is learning to stand without diminishing. In that wholeness, you no longer chase peace. You embody peace. You no longer plead to be chosen. You choose yourself. You no longer fear being hurt again because you've already encountered your pain. And it no longer defines you. So now you move forward. Not harder, not colder, but softer, stronger, unshakably yourself. Because from this moment forward, nothing and no one will ever hurt you again. If you're on your own journey of releasing, healing, or becoming whole, you're not alone. Share your thoughts and reveal where you are on that path. Sometimes expressing it in words is the first step to reclaiming your power. If you want more reflections like this on psychological wisdom, healing, and the strength that comes from within, stay connected and walk this path with us. Because the journey to wholeness isn't meant to be rushed, but it doesn't have to be walked alone.